The lack of respect for human life runs like a common thread through the material. These images are of a helicopter crew who have just received orders to bomb a building where 3 enemy soldiers are thought to be hiding.
He's like, Crazy Horse 1A to put up missile in that building.
A passerby suddenly turns up. But the crew don't wait.
You lost a missile.
The crew could have waited until the man had passed. This is perhaps a measure of how human life was valued in Baghdad. Private cars being pursued by an attack helicopter. The driver gets out of the car and holds his arms up in a gesture of surrender. The more horrific the discovery the investigators in London make, the more they get the feeling of being threatened. It gradually becomes obvious that someone's watching their office.
I do know that I'm being listened into and monitored by forces. I don't know. I've received strange text messages from anonymous sources. I've received death threats, and they're not very nice, clearly. And particularly the one that talked about my children. I just think that was a bit unnecessary.
There's op-eds in the Washington Post saying that our personnel should be kidnapped from Europe. Our sources, one alleged source, executed. Similar statements by right-wing members of the US Congress.
In Washington, the influential public figure Christian Whiten is agitating for the indictment of WikiLeaks members, saying they should be treated as terrorists.
There also has to be a clear punishment for people who engage in what I would consider a form of espionage, a form of political warfare. It's not an act of journalism or transparency, but an act of political war against us.
The US ups its efforts to stop WikiLeaks. The payment service providers, money brokers, closed down WikiLeaks' account. American hackers suspected of having links to WikiLeaks are detained, questioned, and have their computers confiscated.
At the end of the day, things involving the web, I think you find, are less mysterious and new than may meet the eye at first. If you just go beyond, I'd say, the surface, you'll find telecommunications companies that are hosting the servers or hosting the companies that in turn host this information and have made this possible. You'll find banks that provide banking services to these people. You'll find landlords who provide rent to the individuals involved. So to that extent, I'm pretty sure you can peel back the onion and find exactly what this organization is, where it conducts its activities, and which jurisdiction it's subject to most directly.
However, the stronger the attacks, the greater the support WikiLeaks receive. Julian Assange has been without a fixed address for several years, but wherever he lands, activists are on hand to offer him a place to sleep and their services free of charge.
People love the idea of an out-of-control investigative journalist who's trying to take on governments. The story of some quasi-romantic fleet of foot Scarlet Pimpernel character in the form of Julian Assange darting in the cyber shadows. It's very appealing.
I am very pleased to be amongst so many people I can respect. I don't think I have ever been...
Assange is an ideal media figure. He's been portrayed as the Lone Ranger of the information age.
Who to?
Arnie. You are the only one which is sounding like a pure angel.
Me?
Yes.
A pure angel?
Yeah,
That's just the hair.
Praise and prizes have been poured over WikiLeaks. Time magazine has included Assange on a shortlist for the world's most influential man.
You should remember Solzhenitsyn's words that in the right moment, one word of truth outweighs the one.
WikiLeaks continues to pursue its set strategy, which leads to massive media reaction when the next part of the material is published.
I can't think of any case where a satellite news channel the BBC Radio World Service, terrestrial channels and broadcasters and the internet are all going to go at the same time on the story.
This disclosure is about the truth.
They're the secret files from the Iraq war.
Internetplattform WikiLeaks.
Det är webbplatsen WikiLeaks som publicerat omkring 400 000 sidor hemligstämplade amerikanska dokument.
So let me just say, with regards to the allegations of not intervening when coming across detainee abuse, not true.
The Iraq leak hits the headlines around the world. Thanks to Assange's strategy, the leak has a huge impact and greatly boosts WikiLeaks' resources. Now 40 volunteers are brought in to work more or less full-time for the organisation, with another 800 people available for specific tasks. WikiLeaks are well into planning the release of future disclosures. But first, there's still the final part of the US material to be released.
For this latest release, we have chosen a different methodology. We have tried to pull it out over time, rather than having it all go out in one hit.
This time, however, the new material contains disclosures the consequences of which are far harder to assess than previous releases.
Nu är de ute, de första av tusentals handlingar med hemlig amerikansk diplomatpost.
The United States strongly condemns the illegal disclosure of classified information.
In a storm of criticism, WikiLeaks are accused of threatening world peace. Are they and their media partners sufficiently competent to gauge the consequences of releasing hundreds of thousands of diplomatic dispatches, covering everything from nuclear reactors in Iran to Saudi Arabian domestic policy? Or is it again a matter of the end justifying the means? For Christian Whiten, things are much simpler than that.
I think Mr. Assange is actually waging political warfare too. He's not using weapons, but he's not using purely soft things either, like words. He's using information, wielding information against us, if you will. That to me is what political warfare is.
By and large, WikiLeaks is a force for good. I think you can't just be absolute on this. WikiLeaks is very, very powerful, and I think one has to be cautious of anything that's very, very powerful in life.
WikiLeaks' website may disappear again tomorrow, or it may suddenly reappear in 1,000 other locations. History is still in the process of being written, and the rape allegations are a long way from being settled. One thing's clear: whatever happens, WikiLeaks have sown a seed, a thought that's impossible to erase. It's about new ways and new channels of disseminating classified information that'll have a profound effect on transparency, not only on the net, but in a broader global dimension.
Well, what I really learned in the last 3 years is that a difference can be made bottom-up and not only top-down.
Information does not respect borders. States are going to have to rethink how they approach information. Any state which fails to do this will cease to exist.
Well, if we're going to have a military and a defense policy, it's predicated on having information that is controlled. Of course, we're a democracy. We're one of the most open countries, I believe, in the history of the world. But information has to be protected in certain circumstances and denied to the public.
Democracy without transparency is no democracy. I mean, that's just an empty word.
Aprovechamos que la banda terminó de grabar y que también llegamos al final de nuestro documental referido a los orígenes de WikiLeaks. WikiRebel, no sé, son nombres tal vez que uno hoy vería bastante pagos y medio fuera de lugar en un tema tan delicado como es entender la geopolítica, entender lo que significa WikiLeaks y el símbolo de Julian Assange hoy siendo arrestado, no solo de manera ilegal porque entraron a una embajada. Él no se entregó en ningún momento, sino porque aparte siempre Estados Unidos dio órdenes a Londres, a Inglaterra, para que violara cualquier precepto de legalidad internacional. Imagínense que nunca le otorgaron el salvoconducto, arrancó la banda. Obviamente la entrega que hace Lenín Moreno, ¿no? Que uno se pregunta por qué no devolverá ese nombre. Lenín Moreno, uno de los presidentes que ha quedado con su imagen grabada a fuego en el historial de las traiciones latinoamericanas, ¿no? Una verdadera obra maestra de la miseria humana, lo que ha hecho la diplomacia ecuatoriana hoy, entregando prácticamente al matadero al periodista Julian Assange. Con esta información nos despedimos hasta la semana que viene, donde vamos a retomar nuestras intervenciones y nuestras entrevistas cotidianas. Hoy queríamos repasar los momentos claves para entender la figura de Assange y de WikiLeaks. Agradecemos una vez más a Paula Mayorga, que nos ayudó muchísimo con la traducción de este documental. Y también a Meteoro, que nos acompaña en la logística de la edición de Cartago. Hasta la semana que viene acá por nuestro canal con más programas.